Now it should be good.
Yep. Paula, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Hear you too. We can see you. Zena, we can see you.
And I'll be home tomorrow.
Zena says good.
It's all about council.
Just another second or so. We go, and I think that was here. Nope, almost. There it is. Hey, it's 6 o'clock. I'm gonna start. So I'm calling the meeting to order. This notice was posted pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act. Notice is hereby given that the City Council of Nassau Bay, Texas will conduct a special meeting on September 25th, 2023 at 6 p.m. at City Council Chambers, City Hall, 1800 Space Park Drive, Suite 200, Nassau Bay, Texas. Roll call has all council present with Paula Tomasi participating remotely, but we have a physical quorum, so that is A-OK. I'm going to dispense with the invocation and pledge of allegiance. We have no appointments, proclamations, or presentations, so I'll move directly into the citizens' comments, public hearing. Does anybody have anything they would like to say?
Anybody needing Pauline or I?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh.
Oh.
Is that what you're doing? Okay. So going once, going twice. Are you sure? We'd love to hear from you. 3 times. Both hearings closed. Moving into any council member comments. Is there anybody who has any comments?
Special Events Committee, 6:30 here on Wednesday.
That was news to me. That's news I wanted to hear. Anybody else? Then I'm moving on to new business, agenda item 6, which is the public hearing. The City of Nassau Bay proposed 2023-2024 tax rate.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, citizens.
Mayor, excuse me, if you could state the time for the record?
Oh yes, this public hearing is going to start at 6:03.
Okay, first of tonight's meeting is to adopt the proposed tax rate. So for our proposed tax rate is going to be 61.656603. That's made up of 2 components: the maintenance and operation rate, proposing to be at 0.599202, and the debt service rate, and that will fund our debt obligations, which is at 0.057401. So this rate will get us to the budgeted revenue for property taxes, which is 3.9 million, and that will get us to the 250,000 that we need for the ladder truck. Okay. And that is a increase of 6.81%, and that's the proposed tax rate versus the no new revenue rate.
just to be clear here, I just want to make sure for the public hearing and people can speak up here. This is a public hearing. This is not one-sided or we can talk back and forth. That this is a target of the no new revenue tax rate plus what we need to capitalize for the fire truck.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. And on the next slide is comparison between our proposed tax rate and our current rate, and that is a 1.17 increase. And the next few items are for our residents. So right now, our average homestead taxable value is $326,000. So for FY23, the upcoming tax year, the taxable value is $359,000. And at our current rate, that would be $2,334 on your tax bill. For the proposed tax rate, that would be $2361.74. So in terms of dollar change for the tax rate that we're proposing, that would be $27.43 for the year, just for the dollar tax rate change. That doesn't include, of course, the change when it comes to valuation. Now, on the business side, if we have a business that is valued for this tax year at $1.5 million, at the current rate, that would be $9,500 tax bill. And at the proposed rate, that would be a $9,700 tax bill. So the dollar change tax rate for the year would be $112. And that, of course, is just the dollar change for the tax rate. That doesn't include the valuation fees. So in addition to the maintenance of
Yeah, just here a comment. Is it fair to say that the commercial area had a much higher increase in property value? So that the rate that we've done is more affecting the commercial area than the residential area?
Yes, ma'am. So yes, so the turf, for instance, the turf went up about 12%.
Yeah.
So the second component of our tax rate, of course, is the debt service, and that's for our debt obligations. So as of right now, for the upcoming fiscal year, our debt obligation is going to be $1.3 million, 1.1 for principal payments, and $222,000 for interest. So the funding sources for those debt obligations, $435,000 will come from property taxes, and the remainder will come from the Nassau Management District, the lease revenue that we generate from the conference center downstairs, utility fees, that's the water and sewer, and the redevelopment authority. And the next question is why? Why invest in the ladder truck? Well, it's important to protect our city fire ISO rate. And right now, our rate is 80, our score is 80.91. That's a rating of 2. If we fall below 80, it'll be a rating of 3. That will increase our insurance premiums approximately $300 a year. In addition, with the increased number of elevated homes and large commercial buildings, having a ladder truck ensures the safety and lives of our volunteer firefighters and residents in the event we have a large fire.
And that's just the average homeowner.
That's correct. That's
If you're above the average, it would be even more. Yeah.
And the next ISO audit, the most current audit happened this year. The next ISO audit will occur in 5 years, so it's critical to begin making these investments now so we can continue to strengthen our ISO rating. In addition, we want to lock in the $2.2 million price for the ladder truck. 3 years ago, the ladder truck, the quote that we received was $1.4 million. So in 3 years, the price increased 57%. So it's critical that we go ahead and lock in that right now. And that's all, Mayor.
Any questions from the audience? Any further questions from staff? Comments? Any further questions? Council?
Well, it is a 6.81% increase over the no new revenue rate. I would also just like to point out that it's a 1.17 increase over the current tax rate we had this year.
That's correct.
And so it's gonna sound worse, I think, in the motion than it really is.
The other is it's the amount over the no new revenue rate or is being accrued. So it actually go to reserves. So it is not for spending, it's for reserves. And that could be, if somebody else wants to not spend it, they could.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just as clarity on that, like you said, is that the importance here is that the, that's just really of course, here's that the funding there is a cool period of time, and that if there is an emergency, hurricane, whatever it might be, natural disaster that we need to tap into, that'll be acceptable in addition to those 98 correct?
That is correct.
All right, thank you.
And we still have excess reserves, right? 58,000.
That's correct.
Thanks, Ivy.
But,
Probably more, but.
the other thing I want to point out, because there's a lot of confusion between what is a no new revenue tax rate, which just says it's the same dollars from the previous year, to the voter approval rate, which is the amount this council could raise without having to bring it to the voters. And I'm really pleased that because of our how should I say, frugalness last year in particular, we've actually had credits to that. That if you look at the voter approval, we could have gone to as high as 2.746, or about 9 cents above where we currently are without voter approval.
Yes.
Which is mind-boggling. We've never had that kind of luxury before. But it also says that that's a rainy day revenue for other councils after us in case something happens unexpected. There's a 9 cent credit that could be done to the tax rate and be able to create that revenue, which is substantial. But again, that's many people think that and the practice really before this council came on was to go all the way up to the voter approval rate and go just a fraction under it. This council has been at the no new revenue rate. They were actually below it last year. We were targeting to be right at it, and all we're doing is putting it in the extra 2 reserves for the ladder charge.
Question.
Yeah,
Could you decide to implement that, like an additional 9 cents, which you probably wouldn't do that, 5 cents or whatever, at any time, or would it have to wait for the budget cycle?
I will defer to our great counselor here, but my understanding is that at any time we can amend the budget and we could go up to the 0.746169, go a fraction under it and not have to take it to the vote
Okay,
at any time.
at any time.
It just take it would take 4 votes on council to do that.
One more question, honey, you were doing a little calculation of the numbers based on that $27 for somebody at an average price of a home, 300 and something thousand. You said it'd be $27 more than they're paying right now. Is that where that calculation comes?
That change is just for the change in the tax rate. That doesn't include the increase in valuation.
Yeah, okay, and the increase in the valuation, but we don't know what the valuation is gonna be at this point anyway, right? Because that's coming from Harris County.
No, so for instance, if you look at page, it would be, I guess, the cover would be on page 2. So if you look at the 326, so right now the dollar change is 27.43 just for the change in the tax rate. But in the valuation, in this case, it went up $33,000. So because of the change in the valuation and the change in the tax rate, it would be a $241 increase for the year. So
And the valuation is coming from us or Harris County?
that's from Harris County. That's the average homestead.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the audience? Because I'm going to have to, I want to close the public hearing unless there's any other question. This is the time to ask. Then public hearing is closed. It is 6:14 or 6:13 and 30 seconds. The next is to go into the next order of business, was the actual discussion and action, which would be the adoption of ordinance number 2023-09-25, providing for the levy, assessment, and collection of the ad valorem tax for tax year 2023, fiscal year 2024, at the rate of 0.656603 per $100 valuation. This is a record vote, so I'm going to have to hear from each and every one individually. And I will need a motion for this. In particular, if you look on page 8, or the one that has the, the 26.05B of property tax code as the top heading, steps required for the adoption. I need a motion for state law along the line of the second paragraph.
So if you look at the agenda item sheet, for the adoption, we have to, for the following motioners to include that in both.
It's on page 3.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Sure, there it is. It's in the same place. Yep.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I'd like to move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of the 0.656603, which is in effect a 6.81% increase in the tax rate. This tax rate consists of a maintenance and operation rate of 0.599202 and a debt service rate of 0.057401.
Do I hear a second? Second by Chase. Any other questions? Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor, my only comment is that I do want this to go on record that this is important in the fact that this secures our ability to perform the public service that we do and public safety in regards to future procurement of that ladder truck based off of the difficulties that will be challenging in future years in regards to the mutual aid that we receive that we might not be able to count on in those future years, and gives the council the ability to, again, utilize those funds to the benefit of the city and everything.
At least the ISO rating sure will acknowledge it. Yep. Any other comments? Any other questions? Then I call for the vote, and this is to record the vote. Paul, I hate to tell you, but you're number one.
Yes. I agree.
Chase? Aye. James? Aye. Sarah?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
And aye. It passes 7-0. Well done. And again,
Done.
Jaime, I cannot
Yes.
tell you your effort and all of staff and working as a team made it easy for us here. The way in which you put the numbers together, it was more informational than just data. You answered more questions than created. And I really like the help that you did to be able to make sure Paul and the police department had the things they need going forward, and particularly the ladder truck. So I really appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add to that because having been on council last year through that fiscal cycle, it was night and day in comparison to the information that we received. We didn't have to wait. You had it at hand. It was fantastic. And I have to say, something the city's needed for a long time. So thank you. And thanks to all the directors for that, their support and the information that is needed.
Okay. Next is the discussion and action, the appointment to NASA Bay Economic Development Committee. And I'll take that one here just to bring people up to speed on some things we see. So last time we were here, it was raised that the requirements, the bylaws did not allow for the participation of either a candidate or a director to be on the Economic Development Corporation at the same time on other committees. Don Matter, who was the candidate selected, participated on the infrastructure committee as well as the, I'm spacing right now, I know the HERS, excuse me, HERS. And we also found out that Cindy DeWeese was on the landscaping as well as the tourism committee. So we had been actually in violation of our bylaws for as long as Cindy's been on the EDC. It's not something that was done. From that, we tabled Don's candidacy. City Hall is now in explicit receipt of the resignation of Don from the Infrastructure Committee and TERS, and wanting to be the candidate for the EDC. And Cindy DeWeese has resigned from the Landscaping Committee and the Tourism Committee. So each, the director and candidate are in full compliance of our bylaws, and, I think that's a good thing. And so now we come back to, this was tabled, so the premise is to elevate Don to the open seat as a director, not as a previous, council member, and I would need a motion.
I'd like to make a motion, Mayor, that we elevate on to director position on the EDC. We keep Cindy Louise, and I believe Chase, was he already
He
approved?
was already approved.
Okay.
Yep. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by James. Any comment? Any?
My only comment would be that I'm okay with this. I think that you guys are in accordance with bylaw, that's great. What I really would like to see with regards to committees and the openings, I think we're just kind of being able to piece together because of the, cyber stuff and all that stuff, who is on what committee and what their term expiration dates are. I'd really like to see some sort of cohesive, agreeable approach among us all about how we're gonna handle these openings when they pop up. Are we going to put them on the agenda and say, or are we gonna open it up for applications and say, as soon as the opening comes up, that we're gonna open it up for applications for citizens to apply for 30 days and then maybe place it on the next, city council agenda to fill the position. Because I think that the important thing with these committees and the citizen spots is allowing citizens to apply. So if we can come up with some sort of approach, on these openings as they pop up, and kind of stay ahead of them, I think that we've kind of been playing catch up. And then that way we can, and also I've noticed that, City of Houston has all of their committees published on their website as well as their the people's terms and expiration dates, and then it will allow applications.
I would even gander that the new city manager understands that the website probably has a lot of updating that needs to be done, including what you mentioned.
Yeah. So that's something that I would like to have added to the website,
Page after page after page.
That's right.
On that note, can we get an update from Zena? I know that several people have told me, because I asked every single council meeting, if you want to sign up. I know 2 people told me that they signed up for the Parks Committee. But are we getting those yet, or is there still a problem with getting those applications like we have in the past, Zena?
I have not received any applications since the last time we had that on the agenda, which was when we were discussing the Parks and Rec. So we're working on that, but I have not received them personally, no.
Okay, so at the Parks and Recreation Committee, some lady showed up and she said she applied and we don't have the application. So is there any way that we can figure out what's happening? Because we had that with, I think, Gary Mossman, he applied and it didn't show up.
We had several. I think Deidre Brown also had some
Didn't
issues
show up.
there. Gary Mossman has had some issues. You're hearing this issue here. It is one that we obviously have to figure out. It's not really an agenda item, but it is very well taken. I think that's something that will cause tremendous amount of frustration with citizens if they want to participate. And they have to apply and reapply and reapply.
Mr. Mayor, if I can, just real quick, I'd like to echo Councilman Horton's view on that. But I would like to highlight with those resignations, we have a spot that are open now.
So I was gonna say, I thought we've been talking about in October to have kind of a summary of where we are with all the committees and getting that. Yeah,
That's
so that should be an upcoming, if people are interested. And I also think that if you're interested in being on a committee, don't just fill out the thing online and send it to the ether. Also talk to the chair of that committee and say, hey, I'm applying, I'm interested in doing this. If you get a copy of your application by email, forward it to the committee chair, so that way they know that it's in, just in case the city website.
My worry is that Zena doesn't even have one that's in.
Yeah, but if people get because you get an email copy of it, right? When you submit that, you should be able to forward that. or-
Yes, we do.
Yeah, you should be able to forward that to the committee chair, so at least somebody knows.
Or they should have a hard copy they bring in with them.
Yeah, yeah.
And Michelle, under the thing that's on here, it shows that Michelle's term is expired on EDC. I don't know if that's because you took over Matt Pryor's spot. I don't know how it came about that.
I think that must be wrong.
I don't know.
Because I should be
what
Serving
I,
for 2
what I've
years.
asked Zena is from what and I'm doing this from memory, which should not, was it looked like that got updated with the past year's data rather than the current year, so that it's actually the, one year off.
Right, so a year ago at a council meeting, you should have been voted on by council, if that's not.
Which is what happens,
And so
so you
then
should
that's
have
what's down
2
for 2
years. So
years,
I believe that is a previous census. But I think Zena and Nathan will come to this. I think I've actually found something from 3 years ago, which that means they would at least be able to get the staggered right. And, but it needs to go through properly. We need
Right, because
to,
it's improper for a council person to just take over another, council person's position by virtue of just their number. It all has to be voted on.
so all of, from that standpoint, the record will reflect that they were voted for each position.
Right.
So it was not
I'm
something.
just
that was
clarifying,
just-
'cause
Yeah.
it kind of seems like you've been.
Particularly on the EDC, because there's no definition of a certain seat.
Right, it used to
That's
be.
there anymore.
And-
Used to be, but it
Yeah.
isn't anymore.
Well, in fairness to Zena, not only did we have a data breach that caused her to lose a lot of data, but the former city secretary had not kept the proper records on these, so I want to stick up for Zena in that regard.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Also, just to point out, you're talking about the website, Paula's mine and Sarah's information is now on there, so our emails and phone numbers, so if you submit an application and you have a further thing, you can also reach out to us. I'm available by phone or email, and I can always check to see if that application's been received. But our contact information is on there now, I just want everybody to know that.
Yeah, I want to come back to move the original motion, and I want to come back. Is there any other questions in regards to?
I just have one comment, is that, Sue was brought up about the website, and that the city manager and the are working on that. I recommend that we turn it from a .com to a .gov officially.
I don't think we can.
We can.
Or at least look into it.
Yeah.
It's, we can't take action on that here, but it's certainly can be, researched. Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions, any other comments?
Call for vote.
Yes, I'd like to call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
This passes nothing. Thank you, Paula. I got you.
Good.
Okay. Then, that's all that we have for tonight. I would like to move the motion to adjourn. Moved by James, seconded by Chase. Let's vote. All in favor? That is up. Thank you. That is past the city council meeting. 20, yeah, meeting's closed just to help out with counselor. 6:27.